Hello. I'm just beginning work on a new coop for the chickens because as it stands, the coop they have is fit for about half of them. And it's fine for now because they're so small, but they've got not too long until it's time for them to be in a bigger space. So I've just been felling some really small wood. It's honestly part of a general thinning I'm doing on our little section of woods here next to the garden beds over there. Just because the conservation characteristics of the woods out here are that, look at that big, beautiful birch tree. So yeah, I'm not going to cut that thing down. Not only do I not have a saw big enough, but it's just a beautiful tree. The historical characteristics are the area is supposed to be lots of big trees and lots of intermediate disturbance spaces where young trees establish themselves. And so if you look out in the woods off of our property, there's lots of sunlight here because we've cleared for it, but basically when you're driving through, you see a beautiful understory on the side of the road. And then you go about 20 feet off the road, there's no understory to speak of. And that's one of the bigger conservation issues out here, is that just because of the way that human disturbance has played a role in these forests, they're about, 100, 200 years old, depending on when they were last logged or if they ever were, but most of them were. And the trees that have grown up are the middle stage, the late stage trees, the gigantic 500-year-old old growth trees are what's missing from the landscape. So clearing out the small, thick brush of maple and beech supposedly can have a tremendous impact on understory diversity and sort of help restore the landscape. So in general, I don't have a lot of hesitation to cut small trees like these. Are only about 6 inches across, 4 to 6 inches across. Cutting something big like this is a different game because, this tree can be reproducing for generations. It can sire the whole next generation of the woods out here, but these small trees are just kind of blocking the light. So I don't really hesitate to cut them when I need them, and I'm thinking they're just small enough that I can manageably work with them. About yay big around. And I should be able to frame this coop with them in the round. That's the plan, at least. So I went through and I marked them all with the orange marks just so I could find them quick and gave them a few quick cuts. Canopy's really dense out here, so I mean these are trees that are 4 inches across, but 40 feet tall, 50 feet tall, and so it's really easy to get hung up in this canopy. As you can see, it hasn't exactly made it to the ground. Neither is that one. Despite my best efforts to fell them in directions I hoped they would, they all had a pretty significant lean. And so I kind of got them hung up either way. A couple over here fell cleanly. I think I've cut about 6. But now I gotta go get the 4-wheeler and the tow strap, because I've tried just moving around by hand and they're stuck up there. They just need a good jolt. So I'm gonna go get the 4-wheeler and the tow strap and just yank them from this side going this way. I'm not going underneath and pulling that way. That would be a death sentence. So I'm gonna go do that and see how that goes. I'm not cutting all of them either. I mean, this is a beautiful birch that's just a little bigger than the others. I could cut it. There's probably a few good poles out of there to build with, but I don't really want to. Look at this thing. It's a monster. It's gigantic. Yeah, we'll see how there's one that fell cleanly, actually made it to the ground. A little bit without much finagling. So there's from the end to as far as I can get straight, because it doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but up top is going to be not real easy to work with because it's just too bendy. But I could probably about usable up to here, or not here. So depends on the schematics that I draw up for this coop. It really depends on what dimensions of these trees I'll be able to use. And it kind of depends on the trees themselves what I end up having available to me. This one's got lots of nice and long, straight all the way. At least 2 poles out of that. So let's go see how yanking them down goes.